All right, thank you so much. Here, the program still this morning on ITV on independent television. I told you that we're going to be looking at Emefiele'S Saga and, of course, the Efcc updates. We heard and we saw on Monday whereby the Federal High Court in Abuja had to rule in favor of Emefiele and, of course, to the tune of 100 million naira in favor of Emefiele. Where the Efcc and the Attorney General of the Federation have said that they are going to appeal that decision by the Federal High Court in Abuja. Well, this morning we are so privileged to have before we get to read the timeline of the DSS and of course the Emefiele, we'll just get you to know our guest this morning. We're so privileged to have Prince Ambassador Edukpolo, Ayamehwe Edukpolo, yes, a member of the presidential campaign organization of Tinubu, that's the president of the country in the last election. And of course, he was appointed as an ambassador, United Nations Ambassadors for Peace, and presently he is the national coordinator of national coordinator for United. What's the acronym again now?
United Patriots Assembly of Nigeria.
Okay, all right. So you see that it's really a big fish that we have here this morning. So welcome to the program this morning.
It's so amazing to be with you, my brother.
Okay. All right. So the timeline now, we understand that in 2022, that was when the saga actually started for Emefiele. Emefiele has been in the Efcc radar since 2022 over alleged terrorism financing. And of course, in December 19, 2022, a federal high court sitting in Abuja declined an application by the DSS to arrest and detain Emefiele. Then also, in December 29, 2022, a federal capital territory high court sitting in Maitama issued an order restraining DSS from arresting Emefiele. Then Emefiele case, however, became worsened as soon as Tinubu was sworn into office, and no sooner than later, he was suspended and arrested and charged with various offenses, ranging from illegal possession of firearms to money laundering. And Emefiele was granted bail, but he was never released until January 8, when Justice Olukayode of Abuja High Court declared the arrest of Emefiele, the detention and arrest of Emefiele as illegal, and of course a clear violation of human rights, and therefore he barred the Attorney General of the Federation and the EFCC and the DSS from further rearresting him, and awarded 100 million naira against them for the violation of rights of Emefiele. The EFCC had, however, said that they will appeal the judgment, just as was said a while ago. Now, for most people, the way to look at Emefiele's case and the EFCC and maybe this administration is sort of a political vengeance situation. That's the way some people put it. So we have our guest this morning to really expatiate on what he thinks and what he knows that is happening to Emefiele, the EFCC, the Attorney General of the Federation, and of course the DSS. Mr. Edukpolo, you're welcome one more time.
Thank you so much.
How do you begin by reacting to what you think is going on with Emefiele, the EFCC, the DSS, and of course the Attorney General of the Federation?
Yeah, to start with, you know, one is tempted to ask if people think that Nigerians are suffering from collective amnesia. You know, it's a syndrome, you know, that resonates when, you know, people, you know, totally forget things no matter how recent or past. That is not the case. Most of us are not suffering from any traits of collective amnesia. And so we can still speak to things that happened in the 1980s, you know, with exactitude, facts. And so we have not forgotten, you know, so soon the damage that Emefiele's administration of CBN, you know, inflicted on Nigerians, both in terms of lives, both in terms of psyche, psychologically and otherwise. And so what I expected the current Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to do upon coming on board was to move a motion or constitute what I would call Nigeria Cash Crush Commission, like what you have 9/11 Commission. When something of such magnitude, you know, that is in terms of devastation, in terms of loss of lives that we suffered, what Emefiele's cash crush cost Nigeria, I think is next to 1966 Civil War. People died, my brother. People died. That policy of cash crush was so despicable to the extent that people went on street to protest. Bank halls were burned down. Vehicles still associated with some banks were burned down and all that. People were just falling and dying in banking halls because a whole man having about 4 or 5 million or 2 million naira or even 300,000 in his account is told that he cannot get more than 2,000 naira of his money. And this somebody, for instance, having a medical condition, or his relation or relative or children or what, having medical conditions, then the POS, in fact, they didn't even have money. And so you go to banks, you go to hospitals, you are told that you have to pay in cash because none of these things were not working. The ATM machines were not working. So if you put all of those things in perspective, and you are looking at a man being charged, you know, for terrorism financing and all of those issues that EFCC and DSS have charged him on, then somebody is talking about, you know, violation of his human rights. Yes, you can exploit those cases or those dimensions, or if his human rights case has really been violated. But we should not forget in a hurry, this man inflicted, you know, so much devastating pains on the country. And so these are not things that should be swept under the carpet. Yes, I will not attempt to, you know, to go sub judice to a case that is in court. You know, if the court finds merit in his case of his human rights violation being violated and all that, so be it. Award 100 million EFCC say they want to appeal. Fine, let those ones go on. But I am saying that the man Emefiele and Putin is doing a helicopter view of the last part of his tenure. It's not a man that should just only be investigated for money laundering. The man should be investigated for what I call Nigerian Cash Crush Commission to set up to examine the level of devastation. Not only it's not about political vendetta, so that we can have a file in the office of SGF or office of the president or wherever, so that when we open it, we see what happened during a tenure, so that it helps to prevent the reoccurrence of such things.
Yeah, Ambassador, Emefiele is just an individual.
Of course, but he was the head, he was the headsman.
Yeah, we're looking at he's an individual, the CBN is an institution. And a lot of people think that Emefiele probably was not acting as an individual. It's also, because we all saw what happened. You call it Emefiele's cash crunch now, but we understand at that period, the CBN saw the need to redesign Naira. So let's look at it from that dimension one more time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Institutionally speaking, Emefiele was an individual, but we cannot divorce him from, you know, all that happened. You see, people are in a hurry to take the glory, you know, of interventions by an institution because they are the headsman. You say, I'm the permanent secretary of so and so ministry. We achieved this. People carry banner and all that to praise you. But when we want to now look at the failures under your administration of that ministry, people say, no, it was just only a member. But just now, he was taking glory. You know, so people try to run away from the responsibilities when it comes to, you know, evaluation of failures, especially devastating impasse of that tenure or under Periscope. So the point I want to make is that, strictly speaking, Emefiele's administration, especially the last part of it, was an anticlimax. You know, when we really look at the wishes and aspirations of Nigerians in terms of moving our currency administration forward. The monetary policy under Emefiele within that last period was in fiasco, to the extent that some governors have to hurriedly, you know, put up a Supreme Court challenge. You know, at a time he was being declared wanted by DSS. We were told that another arm of another sector of Nigerian security agency were protecting him, shielding him away, and all that. They were told that the president was with him, President Buhari was backing him, and all that. All of those things wouldn't have happened because we must not also forget that this same man had wanted to be president. So the school of thought which I belong to, or which I share substantially, believe that because he was denied the presidential ticket of that party, I don't want to mention the party now, you know, perhaps prompted his anger to say, I will implement a devastating policy that will prevent these people from not having money. Now, because his belief was that a certain person was going to win only when money was available.
Ambassador Ayamekwa, I think a while ago we were trying to, remove Emefiele from the institution. So Emefiele was just an individual. The CBN is Emefiele is an individual. The CBN is an institution. So from what you said now, that it was because of the political, realization that Emefiele couldn't get. That was why he now said. So, did you think that Emefiele on his own, single-handedly, probably used the CBN as a tool to maybe want to fight back?
You see, I am a political scientist. First and second degree.
I know. I'm going somewhere.
And, I said a school of thought, and I belong to that school of thought. I have the right to my opinion. It is very, very clear. You see, when you are a herdsman of an institution, substantially, especially in Africa, over 50 or 60% of the policy direction must definitely be influenced by your sentiments, by what you believe, by your worldview, by your values, by your perception of the way things should be, rightly or wrongly. That is the situation we find ourselves. So I'm saying that the school of thought that believes that the reason why we suffered or why that fiasco was inflicted was because I don't see a man who, for instance, had an ambition to be president and having his way, not putting things right to have a smooth sail and make Nigerians happy. And so it was just like, I will show them that kind of syndrome, that kind of sentiment. I will deal with them. And we all suffered it. And so I want to insist and most honorably appeal to the Nigerian Senate. It's not about political vendetta. It's not about punishing Emefiele. It's not even about arresting him or inviting him for arrest. It's about having an articulation of the views of Nigerians with evidence, okay, by way of a commission of inquiry to look at what Nigerians suffered within that period. It's very, very important so that we have it in our bookshelves for our student of history, our student of finance, our student of banking and finance, even student of political economy, to one day wake up and look at these books and say, okay, in Benue, 3 people died, God forbid, or so and so people suffer, so and so kind of losses because of a cash crunch policy. It helps to project and guide the country. We shouldn't just be acting as if I beg that one don't come out. No, there must be an attempt at a very intentional documentation of that impasse, putting it in records so that we will learn from it, so that the current CBN governor one day, when he goes through his check, we see the book, it will frighten him to guide him from bringing Nigeria back to such a despicable scenario.
Okay, we're going to take a short pause now because I have feelers already that the second guest is already in backstage, so we'll just bring him on board. And when we come back, we're going to further establish so many issues concerning Emefiele. Because the CBN has the legal rights to redesign Nigeria's currency, as it were. So what really happened in the case of Emefiele? Was it the time that Emefiele tried to introduce the Naira redesign, or the fact that it was just a way of trying to fight since he couldn't get the presidential ticket? We'll be right back after this time out. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you one more time. The program is still this morning on ITV, and we have Honorable Destiny in Ogayerio in Abulele, a former chairman of Ovia Southwest Local Government Council area in Edo State here. So you're welcome to the program this morning on ITV.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we still have Ambassador Ayamekwa Edupolo still with us. Now, before you came on, we're trying to look at the case of Emefiele, and went through the timeline of Emefiele with the Efcc, the series of allegations, and how Emefiele at the initial stage, despite series of invitations that the Efcc made on Emefiele. Emefiele refused until Tinubu became president, and he was arrested and detained. And about twice now, Emefiele has been granted bail, but even as we speak, it still remains, within the coffers of the DFCC. We remember, the one that happened when it became a fiscal off between the DSS and, of course, the EFCC on who to take custody of Emefiele. On Monday, the Federal High Court in Abuja had to rule that what Emefiele has been going through for the fact that Emefiele has been detained is clearly a human rights violation. I do not know whether you agree with the Federal High Court in Abuja on Emefiele's case.
Yeah, that was it. Let me first of all wish you a happy New Year, and
thank you.
Wish my leader, Ambassador, happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my brother.
Happy New Year, viewers. You see, you can see I'm just smiling because the Nigerian system is quite on a pathetic path, because whether you like it or not, we must put in the system. To be very frank with you, it's a clear violation of his fundamental human rights. Good and fine. If, say, I, Destiny or Emefiele run foul of the law, let the law take its course. Don't begin to, as if we are in a banana republic. We are not. So for me, from ab initio, we question the rationale behind the operations of the DSS and the EFCC. They are laid down laws. If the court say, okay, grant him bail, let him go. You have to do a surveillance. You have his passport or some other things. There are, information gathering to put him on check or surveillance. Whenever he or she is needed in the law court, you avail his or herself. The situation will begin to do as if we have strong men, rather than for us to now have what we call strong institution. That is why you see that kind of commando style. For me, I think Nigerians, we need to go back to the drawing board. Let's define what works for us. Is it this system? We just completely jettison this. I don't know whether it's, some said it is quasi-presidential, some said it's unitary. I don't know the system we are running. Let's jettison. Let us sit down together. Let's go to the drawing board. Let's define what works for us. This is the situation where we see anything in the United States of America or in the United Kingdom, we copy everything, hook, like, and sinker, and want to implement it here. It doesn't work. It's not what works in your home that works in my home. It's not the way you take care of your children that I will take care of my children. If I try to adopt that, there will be a clash of interests.
So for you, the continuous incarceration of Emefiele is purely fundamental human rights?
No, it's totally wrong. You see, because we don't have strong institutions, that's why you see all this, permit me, all this very unprofessional way of doing things. Because we don't have it. The system is not there. That's why you see the likes of Ebeta, Edu, and the rest. They can within a month. From, I think she was sworn in August, if I'm not mistaken. Till now, it's barely about 5 or thereabout
about
months.
6 months.
Or thereabout months. And they are already smiling to the banks with millions. Because the system is porous.
Anyway, investigations are ongoing. Let us know.
Oh, whether you like it, she has already admitted. You see, I was once an executive, council chairman. You don't pay government money to private money.
To private hands.
To private accounts. That is an offense.
But by law, though we're not talking about Edu's case now, but we understand
I'm trying to drop.
By law, she had the right to, give contract to whoever she wanted to.
No, we are not disputing that.
Yeah.
But again, you must look at the interest of that. Is your interest in that company you are contracting that you are awarding that contract to? If you have interest in it, it is not foul of the law again. Because in Nigeria, the Nigerian system, the code of conduct, what tells you is that as a public office holder, the only other business you can do is farming. You can't do any other business. Because there will be conflict of interest. See, you saw what happened to my friend Ojo in the interior, the Minister for Interior. That is paddy, and it's against the code of conduct rules. If you're to be in a very civilized society, by now they should have stepped aside. Because of the system we find ourselves.
All right, so what you are saying is that Emefiele's case is purely a human rights case?
See, yes, he has run foul of the law. He has made some of us, go cap in hand begging. As we speak very just now, we have a shortage of...
But again, we must establish something. Emefiele is an individual.
Yes.
The CBN is also an institution.
Definitely.
So,
We're not disputing that.
Was Emefiele actually carrying out his own personal, or an institution's policy?
You see, Evans, you see, the whole system is convoluted. There's a saying by very rich Malay language. In the world of witches and wizards, don't see a single person. It's a populated, arena. Although I've never been there, but that's what they were made to understand. So this old charade, it's not that it's only Emefiele. It's a chain of reactions. It's a chain of command. It was just a willing tool at that particular point in time, and it was used. If you look at it, the Southerners has always been a willing tool to the Northerners. In when they want to perpetrate, I'm sorry, quote unquote. So
Emefiele fair prey.
He was a willing tool. If we can go back to history, when Sanusi he was the CBN,
governor.
We knew what happened.
Yeah.
He refused to play to the gallery. Perhaps you see there was continuous altercation between the CBN and the presidency. You can still recall.
Yeah, but Emefiele, I mean, having served more than 2 terms, one of the second longest governor now, he did 10
That's
years.
to tell you that he compromised. That's to tell you, because whether you like it or not, Buhari administration inherited Emefiele from Goodluck Jonathan.
Yeah, from
so something, I watched a film not too long ago. There was this police officer that perpetrated some illegal arrest and led to murder of a particular boy, and the father of the boy was a mafia. So they got wind, he arrested, got some of the security agencies, and he tied them to after some deep thought, he released them. And the head of that other group said, you must have released some vital information that led to your release. That's exactly what happened.
Okay. Now, let me let Ayamekwe, Prince Ambassador Ayamekwe come in now, because he feels differently about this whole thing. Now, Ambassador, you heard what Honorable said. You still stand with him, or you stand with your position?
I cannot see any, paradigm shift in his presentation from what I've been saying. I categorically said that the cash crunch that we all suffered was perpetrated by Emefiele.
Exactly.
And he has affirmed that. So there's
even
the issue of the human rights violation that he said, I concur right here. Maybe you didn't listen.
I did.
I said the Federal High Court that did so have done so based on the facts of merit before them. I'm not contesting the issue of human rights violation and slamming of 100 million
Facts
against
of merit before them too.
I said because I'm not in a position to disprove what a federal high court has said. I don't have that constitutional power to so disprove. So I'm saying that they may, or they would have, the high court, the federal high court now, look at the facts before them before coming with that ruling, slamming that ruling against EFCC to say you people should have fined 100 million as damage on the violation of Emefiele's human rights. I've said so. Okay. I'm nothing against it. Now, my only issue is that we should not act as if we are suffering from collective amnesia. That was my point of departure. I stand on that. And so if we are looking at you try to always bring the fact that no, Emefiele is a person, CBN is an institution, and he has also used the word to say and we have all used all of these things to confirm to you that the headsmanship of an institution takes absolute responsibility for the progress, achievements, and failure. And so the catastrophes of a CBN under Emefiele must squarely be placed under Emefiele. Much as we are giving him the tons and glories for the achievements under CBN, you must also slam the failures under him squarely.
Yeah, but we're also trying to look at the political angle of it all.
Yeah.
Because just like what he said, that Emefiele probably became a tool that availed himself.
I have nothing whatsoever to disprove what he has said on that. Because, anybody that understands the system theory will understand that those who always offer themselves to be praised, to be used by the predator, will always get all the promotions will always get all that they want.
Exactly.
But time is the what tells. You know, when system change, when government change, okay, those who were praised here will now fall on the ground. That's what has happened to him. You know, we are not suffering for collective amnesia to know that some governors have to run to Supreme Court to say this thing cannot continue like this. And the CBN had brazenly or had the effrontery to say, no, they have not been served. I look at it and said, even without being a lawyer, you know, commonsensically, Attorney General is representing in a matter before the Supreme Court. You are saying you have not been served. Once the Attorney General is there, all the institutions under the government have been served. And so for you to be saying you will not be, you are institution, CBN have not been served, it means that there was a premeditated desire to perpetrate, you know, that suffering, to continue to inflict that suffering on Nigerians.
Yeah, but let us also look at the sincerity of purpose now in some of these agencies that have been handling Emefiele's case. Take, for example, the Efcc. Now, I remember at the time Emefiele was bailed, but the DSS came to the court that very day. I think that was about one of the last dramas that we saw. They came with another fresh set of charges against Emefiele. So it was a situation of whereby he was released on one hand, and of course he was rearrested on one other.
You see,
hand.
it's
So
not
for most people,
Yes.
they see a hanky-panky game. That maybe the DSS was acting under some instructions to ensure that he doesn't get his freedom.
I agree with my distinguished co-discussant that, you know, sometimes our system acts as if we are in a banana republic. It's so appalling. It's so appalling. You see, ordinarily in an ideal society, when the law enforcement knock at your door, they are done with the investigation.
Exactly.
When they knock at your door, you know you just go. For instance, a senior advocate whom I respect so well told me, he said, look, a good lawyer is trained first to be an officer of the courts. Then he's also trained to be an officer of the government before he is a client to the lawyer. And so when you bring a case to a good and properly trained lawyer, he will factor the national interests. He will also factor the integrity of the court before factoring that he's your lawyer. And so that's why you go to court now, you see all sorts of lawyers making all sorts of, you know, rancorous arguments that are not professional, you know, with all due respect. Well, what I'm trying to say is that if you look at the way and manner the EFCC, you know, we're bringing charges, you know, midnight charges, so to speak.
And even the DSS too.
Even the DSS too. You see, it really questions a professional coordination of an attempt to unravel the mystery of terrorism financing that they were investigating about Emefiele.
Yeah.
That was unfortunate because what I really expect is for Nigerians to come to terms to how he really bankrolled terrorism financing. Because there is nothing as appalling as a government official, you know, financing terrorism of his own country. It's not. So when I heard about the case, I said this case should be given all it desired to get to Nigerians to see what really happened. But we are really not seeing that though. And so, but at the same time, we must not rule out the fact that certain intelligence information at some point may not be immediately declassified for purpose of ongoing investigation. And so at some point, we have seen cases where we are now being enlightened to know that you can be discharged and not acquitted. It happened in the case of Unabi Kanu. You know, Mazi Unabi Kanu, that you were discharged, but you were not acquitted. Yes. And so if a court says, let this person go, and there are overwhelming grounds of, you know, perpetration and conspiracy to terrorism that the person can still wield in the national interest of the country, such a person should still be held. But so far, or insofar, that agency is able to convince the courts with overwhelming evidence to say, please, much as you desire to release this man, the perpetuity or the grounds and network that this person controls can still inflict, you know, sufficient damage on the psyche, the lives, and security of the people.
Okay.
And so to that extent, security, even all over the world, security agencies still hold some people.
All right, so as we make preparation now to leave this topic this morning because of time factor. Now, the EFCC has said that they are going to appeal the case now, you know, the 100 million naira fine against them. That is probably a way of also trying to say that, hey, we are not guilty and all that. Let's make postulations now. If EFCC successfully you know, appeal that case, so what becomes of Emefiele again?
No, I think, see, we are getting it, you know, mixed up here. What the court said is fundamental in my right. It has nothing to do with the case, the substance of the case. You see, Emefiele, call it, is it prosecution or persecution? Whichever way you look at it. Can be persecution, can be persecution. If you look at it very just now, if we flat our mind back, you can still recall his antecedents, some of his role culminating into the presidential elections.
Yeah.
You can recall. So for us, when you say there's no way you rule out, there's no way you rule out that there's no way you will be able to rule out. There's another current. That is sacrosanct. For me, there's another current. But there's a saying in my very regular language. So if you see, there must be some element of force. So a state, after God, is the state. Oh, I say talking about state government. So one must be very, very extremely careful when you are dealing with matters that have to do with the state. And again, the role he played at the point, the way he talks, he was not liking himself to some of the comments of Adolf Hitler. I'm sorry to use such word. Yeah. If you can still recall.
I mean, somebody that was invited several times.
So for me, I'm a little bit not comfortable because the Nigerian state is in a state of what Bible will call filaga filogo. That's why I'm, because if you look at, if you're to be in a very civilized, state, all these things will take its course.
All right, so
that's at checks and balance at every point. Yeah, because we have strong men, rather strong decision put it by Obama at a time. That's why we are seeing all these, permit me, in all this African way of doing things. Okay, now so we must apply. 1 minute. We must beg the Nigerian people now for us to go back to the drawing board.
Do you want to say that perhaps Emefiele was in the good books of Buhari and is not in the good books of Tinubu now?
That's not correct. We have seen people who served under Buhari being reappointed by Tinubu. Don't also forget that it's one political party. There's no divorce between Buhari's APC membership as well as I don't think.
Ambassador just be economical.
There's no reason to be because if there is anything Nabulele knows about me is that I'm brutally frank.
That is true.
And you know that about me. So no, what I mean is that because if you say you and I have agreed, you even said that. He behaved as if he was a Gaddafi.
Yes, exactly.
And so that is to say that the man performed, beyond any critical assessment of a failed person.
Yes.
Okay, now putting it in that perspective, you do not expect a Tinubu to sustain such a person.
All right, so we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. So I want to say thank you. Please extend the handshake. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, my brother. The Benin will say
Selogwe.
All right, so the last is not heard yet. So we're going to await the finality of the appeal now that the EFCC is going to make against the ruling of the Federal High Court in Abuja on Monday.